Hi everyone, I'm Madison. Thank you for clicking on my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be discussing the end of the year tag. I decided to follow Madison Kate's video, so I'll link her video down below. And I'm going to kind of follow her vibe too, just kind of sitting and talking about books rather than like picking up every book that I own. So yeah, let's just get started. And Salem is going to be here in my lap probably the entire video because he's a big baby. So the first question is most disappointing read of the year. I would definitely have to say Hopeless by Elsie Silver. I really wanted that book to be better. I wanted a better premise from that book. I was just kind of disappointed in how Beau was acting and just the storyline in general. Okay. But yeah. I would also say Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I know that I filmed a video of me reading that book like initially, and I think I gave it 5 stars. But upon further consideration, it's not a 5-star. It definitely could have been better, and it's not exactly what I wanted out of that book. I was just so excited to have Kai and Paedyn back and to know what was going to happen next, but kind of a whole lot of nothing happened. So yeah, I was a little disappointed in that, but I have high hopes for Fearless. Fingers crossed. The second question is Underdog Book of the Year. I would say This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. That book really surprised me because I had read Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune earlier in the year and I hated that book. And I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about her previous books. And like this was everybody's like last chance for her kind of thing. But I loved it. I honestly think about that book very often. Question 3, a book you loved in the moment but don't think about now. Ooh, I have to go to my Goodreads for this. What are we doing? I would say Beach Read by Emily Henry. I loved that book at the moment. I do believe that if I reread that book, I would still give it 5 stars. But I don't really think about the characters all that much or the story that much. It didn't like impact me. I just thought it was like a good read. Oh. Favorite book couples of the year. Easily Kai and Paedyn. Those two were probably my favorite. And I would also say Dorian and Manon, or Manon. I correct my pronunciation of her name, from Throne of Glass. I've only gotten crumbs, but I love them. The tension's there, and I'm here for it. And even if that's all that I get out of those two, I'm fine with that. I'm happy with that. A book you can't stop recommending. Ow. I would say The 7-Year Slip. I'm going to talk about that book probably a lot. Also, Funny Story by Emily Henry. And Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I got my best friend to finally read that one. And she loved it, and I think she's finishing up Reckless right now, so. A book that surprised you. I would say the entirety of the Chestnut Springs series. Prior to this year, I was not a romance reader. I was like anti-romance. I only read fantasy practically. So picking up Flawless and then enjoying it, I was very surprised because I was like, cowboy romance is not for me. I was wrong, I love it, and I will continue to pick up more cowboy romance. Next question, new favorite author you discovered in 2024? Emily Henry, Ashley Poston. She's an auto-buy author for me, for sure. And Elsie Silver. I very much have learned to love every single one of her books that she's come out with. I still need to finish reading her backlist, same thing with Emily Henry, and I'm working on those too. But I do really like them. And Ashley Poston, I finished reading her entire backlist this year. And like I said, these are auto-buy authors now for me. I love all of them. And I'm very surprised for them to be romance authors. Happiest read of the year. Honestly, every book that I enjoyed this year did have like an emotional pull at my heartstrings. Like I did tear up. But I guess like the book I think most fondly about would again be The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I want to do a reread of that book very soon. It's just, I love it so much. It holds such a special place in my heart. Most frustrating book you read in 2024. Definitely the books that I read at the beginning of this year Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I hated that book. I feel like it wanted to be a like mafia romance, like a light mafia romance, kind of like dark verse, but it just didn't land for me. I just like got rid of the entire Twisted series after that book. I did not want to continue. I do think that I will pick up Anna Huang again at some point, just not that series. I don't think that one was was the one for me. I would also say Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I hated that book. It made me mad. I would also say, what's it called? The beginning of this year, I just did not read good books. The Fake Dating Game by Timothy Janowski. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I hated that book. I gave it 2.5 stars. That's how much I disliked it. And I was kind of surprised by that because he's written a couple of books that like other people have liked. Like Never Been Kissed and like You're a Mean One, Matthew Prince. They're like M&M romances, and so I thought I would like it because for some reason I assumed that it was like red, white, and royal blue, which I loved. It was not, and I hated it, and that really frustrated me. I felt like I wasted my time reading that book, and I like refused to DNF at the beginning of this year for some reason. The longest book you read this year, I did look this up prior to this video. The longest book that I read this year was Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. It's like 600 something pages. I'm surprised that that's the longest one that I've read this year. I thought I read like a higher page count, but I guess not. I guess I've been afraid of high page count books this year, so. The next question is shortest book you read this year, and for me that was The Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio. It's a little novella. It's like maybe 200 pages, not even, and I really enjoyed that. Very good book. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. The 7-Year Slip. Can we say it together? Funny Story by Emily Henry and This Summer Will Be Different. I don't even have to think about that. Those books have been on the top of my mind since I read them. I cannot stop thinking about them. I love those books so much. I have a lot of like annotations and thoughts, and I do want to do rereads, honestly, on all of the books, but mainly The 7-Year Slip. An unpopular book you loved. I'm like in the book talk verse. I pay attention to what's like popular, so I wouldn't say that I really read any books that nobody else has read before. Yeah, so I guess the only book that I can think of that an unpopular book that I loved would be, I guess, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. But the thing is like I know there's a lot of people that do really enjoy that book. But there are some people that are like, meh, it's not her best book. I read it, I guess, at a time that may have been perfect for me. It pulled at the heartstrings for me. I was tearing up while reading it. I love that book. But I also, like, I don't think about those characters as much as I think about, like, the characters from The 7-Year Slip. So, yeah. But I love that book. I gave it 5 stars when I read it. What was the highest and lowest rated books you read this year on Goodreads, and do you agree? So I think it means like star ratings as in like universally, not what I gave. So that's what I went off of. And the highest rated book that I read this year was The Nightingale, and Goodreads has it at a 4.63 stars. I absolutely agree with that, if not higher. I gave it 5 stars. I loved that book. It pulled a lot of emotion out of me, and it was such a good book. And I do want to do a reread of that. I literally talked about this in my reading wrap-up, so. And the lowest rated book I read this year was Rouge by Mona Awad, and that has a Goodreads rating of 3.55 stars, and I also agree with that. I think I gave it like 3 or 3.5. I didn't love that book. I found it very confusing, and I think it's just, she's an intelligent author, and the concept went over my head, honestly. Your favorite quotable books of the year. I made a list. Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and then pretty much every Emily Henry book that I read this year, every Ashley Poston book that I read this year. Yeah, I have heavily annotated those books, and I love them. They're very quotable, and I just love those authors. They have very great writing styles that make you like think about their stuff, and yeah. Book with the most unique concept. I would say pretty much all of Ashley Poston's books. She has magical realism elements in all of her books. So A Novel Love Story is about the main character going into her favorite book series. The 7-Year Slip is about a magical apartment that goes 7 years into the past. And The Dead Romantics is about the main character being able to see ghosts. Very like light level, surface level conversation of that, because I don't want to spoil any of the books if you have not read them, but I think those are all really amazing concepts. But I would also say Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. That's the second book in the Ladders of Enchantment duology, and that one I find very like, it's almost magical realism as well, because like the two main characters are sending letters to each other under wardrobes, and it magically appears to the other person as long as there's a wardrobe there, and they're magical typewriters. There's also gods at war, and they're somehow getting involved with it. So yeah, I would say those books have a really unique concept. Book you read that you would reread. I would say like my entire favorites list that I have on Goodreads. The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune, Funny Story by Emily Henry, The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I have actually done a reread already of Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I think those are all of the books that I read this year that are on that list. So yeah. Reading goal reflection and your 2025 reading goal. So my reading goal for 2024 was to read 55 books. At this point in time, it is, what day is it? It is December 10th. I have not yet met my reading goal. I am 4 books off from meeting my reading goal. And I don't know, like for 2025, I think I'm going to set a reading goal for 50 books. I'm going to actually lower it. I just want to not kind of pressure myself to meet a goal by the end of the year. I don't want to pressure myself to read books just to read them. I want to read for enjoyment. I also want to encourage myself to DNF more next year, because I did read books that I did not like this past year, and I'm like sad that I forced myself to do that and not have a good reading experience rather than just picking up a new book that I would have enjoyed. But yeah, I would say care less about the goal, read more, moving from 55 back to 50. Just give myself a little leeway. If I go over, I go over, but yeah. After 2024 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2025 reading-wise? Which I kind of just iterated a little bit, which is just DNFing books when I don't like them. I don't want to force myself to read books that I don't enjoy. Also, unhauling books. I started to unhaul this year, and I want to continue to unhaul books that either I'm never going to pick up and read, or books that I have read and I don't enjoy. I am having a hard time with that one. I have not unhauled any books that I read and didn't enjoy, because I'm like, well, I read it, it can be in my library, and I can say that I've at least read it. We'll get there. We'll get there. But I have unhauled quite a few books that I had previously purchased, and I just have not had the desire to pick up in months, if not a year. And at that point, I think it's better for somebody else to find love and joy in that book and pick it up and get it secondhand, whether it's at Half Price Books or Goodwill or in one of the little libraries. I just think that that's better. So I'm going to continue to do that next year. I want people to come to my home and to see my library and be like, wow, you've read all those books, and I can say yes, rather than having a ginormous TBR of books that I haven't read because I have a buying problem and not a reading problem, you know. I also want to force myself this year in 2025 to only buy the first book in a series, and then if I enjoy the series, I can continue to buy the rest of the series, because I have done that multiple times now where I have bought the entire series and I feel like I get almost overwhelmed that I own the entire series, so I won't even pick it up. I have the entirety of Red Queen. by Victoria Aveyard. Have not picked it up. I know it's a good series. My friend loves it, but I have not picked it up because I own it. I'll get to it when I get to it. It's annoying. I have the same thing with a couple of trilogies. Yeah. So I need to calm down. Less book buying, more book reading next year. I would love to decrease my physical TBR by quite a bit. It's more than I would like it to be, for sure. But yeah, those are kind of my reading plans for 2025. That's all of the questions that I have for this end of the year book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed the questions. I hope you enjoyed my responses and kind of the laid backness of this video. A little different than me sitting in front of my bookshelf and showing you guys a bunch of books. I hope that the noise wasn't too much with my dogs and they weren't too interrupting in the video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one.